Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. I am broadcasting live from, I'm going to leave the hotel nameless because I know that my enemies watch this show and they would like to know where I'm sleeping. But I'm broadcasting from sunny Miami, Florida, where the Bitcoin Association is going to be doing one heck of an event tomorrow. It is sold out, standing room only, and there's a little bit of a waiting list. However, if you want to ping my guest at some point on the Twitter and you've got some VIP situation or something else, we could probably squeeze you in if you got something really important that you want to do. But yeah, we have sold out. There's the headline. I can see that going across our BSV any minute now. Kurt admits it; he is sold out. But the Bitcoin Association event here in Miami, Florida, tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow all day, really, has sold out completely. But yeah, if you really want to get your way in there, I know some people. You can send me a DM. You can send a DM to the guest today, or you can even bug Alex Moon about it. He loves helping Bitcoin Association handle their logistical stuff at the 11th hour. So no, really though, we're here to help. Long story short, if you've never seen the live stream before, this is the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. I'm Kurt Wookert Jr. I would love for you to do all the things that all the YouTubers tell you to do, which is hit that bell, smash that like, subscribe, this and that. This is how we get paid. If you want to sponsor the show, I would love to have logos floating all around my head. I'd even be willing to shave something into my luscious locks for the right amount of money. And we would appreciate very much your sponsorship and everything else here for the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. But just so you know, these shows are done live because we love to do the Ask Me Anything format. Hi, Bitcoin Becky Leggero. I've missed you on your adventures. Truly, though, we love doing the Ask Me Anything shows. I love the hard questions. If you want to come to me with your Bitcoin quandaries, queries, and everything else, what's the thing I say? Questions, comments, blessings, cursing, scrapes, gripes, or gropes. I will field them all. I am very, very happy to take. Hit my lights here. I'm very happy to take your questions. I love to talk to the audience. I love to answer questions about Bitcoin because ultimately people don't understand Bitcoin very well. They assume that it was designed to be savings technology or some other thing that gets brought up occasionally by all of our dear small blocker friends, but in reality, it was a transaction network. It was designed to be fueled by the power of micropayments in order to give the incentive to distributed nodes to provide proof of work across the network, building blocks and signaling their honesty with their hash rate. And here we are today, about 12 years after the launch of Bitcoin, and we're still talking about whether or not Bitcoin should be used as transactions everywhere except the BSV economy, that is. And our guest, who's going to be coming up after a very quick break, is a friend of mine actually from outside the Bitcoin space even. We actually met, I think we met through Bitcoin-related stuff, but we've done a little bit of work together in the cybersecurity and IT space, and worked with some common folks in both directions. Alex, you can bring the question back up. I'll answer a question here before we cut to the break here. Alan Ross, who asks a question almost every episode. Alan, I appreciate you. Thank you. What do you know about data pruning on BSV? What is it and how does it work? So this is a really interesting, this is one of those theoretical things. This is one of these questions that had this been some of the other fork wars would lead to a hard fork because everybody is debating about something that isn't actually a challenge. In op return, this is the primary way right now that people are storing data in the blockchains. They're putting it in op return. And technically, nodes can prune the things in op return because you only paid them once, but they have to store it forever. So we're talking about the value of hard drive space over time. Now, you're assuming that the only thing that they're gaining value from is the transaction itself, the thing that you paid them to do. But it ignores the fact that that op return data has some kind of economic value on the network that those miners want to mine. They want the value of the coin to go up just as much, maybe more than anybody else does. And so it doesn't make sense for them to prune something that is useful. And so if you've got some interesting thing, let's say a run token is sitting in op return, then it's not likely that nodes are just going to prune that arbitrarily. Now, some will, because some people just want to mine the blocks and they're just running a completely pruned node and they want to get block rewards and fees, but they don't want to be a big data services provider. That's totally fine. You have the option to do that. And as long as one node keeps a full chain, then you have the full chain. Obviously, it would be better. I would love to know that my data was persistent across 1,000 nodes globally and I could access it. but it's kind of a silly thing for me to expect somebody to do for essentially free, isn't it? So what we really need to do is find a way to make the data in that op return economically valuable so that people see the value of keeping it there forever. Now, full disclosure, nothing on the BSV blockchain has ever been pruned away. Everything that's ever been uploaded to it is still accessible by most nodes, including ones that don't even mine. So this would be people like Beco.media or What's on Chain, Bitcoin files. Like they're serving these things also. Of course, they're connected to mining pools and stuff as well. But the point is that the data there is not likely to be pruned arbitrarily because that's a big part of the value proposition in BSV is that the data is persistent in the first place. Now, the second thing you can do is you can upload things in a transaction. This would be something like Stas token, which is a really common thing that people are talking about, but hasn't been used much in the wild, is that you're actually adding the data to the UTXO set, which means it cannot be pruned unless the output is spent. So you'd have to spend it to move it. That's a little bit of a different story. That would be globally persistent forever until there is a spend or until the entire network breaks down at some point in 10,000 years when we've all disappeared. But the point is that the data that is on the chain, regardless of where it is on the chain, is part of the economic model of the system itself, and therefore should stay on chain forever. Yes, it can be pruned, but it doesn't make sense for any miner to prune the data today at all. First of all, hard drive space is really cheap. Like that is among the cheapest parts of their entire system is hard drive space. I think I saw a post today. You can buy a terabyte or 10 terabytes or 100 terabytes, something for like $200. So pruning data just really doesn't make any sense. Like that is the silliest thing to do because your hard drive space is, in the grand scheme of things, almost free. And in fact, it's less than a penny for any unit of anything. So it's a very small part of the thing. I would not worry about pruning for a very, very long time. And by the time we get to the point where we need to have that discussion, we'll probably already have a bunch of stuff in place, or we've got Moore's Law to contend with, which is exactly what Satoshi Nakamoto said about it. As far as I remember, even before a Bitcoin was mined, he talked about Moore's Law takes care of all of our long-term scaling problems in the first place. Let's kick ass. Let's grow the blockchain. So I wouldn't worry about it, but it's a good question, Alan, because it does come up quite a bit. And now, if you want to send this video to people every time it gets asked, you can say, actually, Kurt answered this in the first 8 minutes of the CoinGeek Weekly live stream on August 31st, 2021, except it's not on chain. It's on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Periscope and everywhere else. Please remind your friends as we go to this ad that this is live. They should join us right now. They can ask us questions and everything else. Please, my friends, tell your friends to join us now. Subscribe, like, etc. Alex, play the ad. Well, thank you to Brightview for putting together that lovely ad and for advertising here on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream, where we are now joined by Bryan Daugherty. How are you doing, my friend?
Great. How are you doing, Kurt? Appreciate you having me on the show today.
Absolutely, man. It's really good to have you. I believe we're actually in the same hotels. In theory, we could be doing this holding hands, but we decided to keep it classy here and make it easy for Alex Moon, who now appears to be blushing in the green room. Alex, wave, hi. So, all right, man. Let's let people know, if people don't know who you are, who the hell are you? What do you do for Bitcoin Association? Why should people know who you are, and what should they contact you for?
Sure. Yeah. So I came on board with the Bitcoin Association just about 10 months ago as a technical outreach specialist. I was one of their first hires to actually reach out to businesses, entrepreneurs, developers, people interested in the space, and, help provide that first layer of technical support and resources, get them excited about blockchain, the capabilities, what we're doing on BSV, the scaling efforts that we've made, the innovations and really the huge asymmetry education gap that kind of exists from, what people formerly understood of Bitcoin or blockchain and really the innovations that have taken place, particularly on BSV that have made it, an enterprise solution for businesses to create new efficiencies and, to provide much better information security and data management and monetization. So, my role since then is kind of, evolved into the sense to where I'm the regional manager for North America. So I work with a lot of the other regional managers at the Bitcoin Association. I'm focused on North America, and I'm part of the market adoption team that Patrick Prince has kind of kickstarted for our Bitcoin Association. And, we're really focused on building a set of, ex-consultants and salespeople and experienced project managers that, will be out in the market and build relationships and bridges to educate everybody on the opportunities and innovation that BSV enables. And, that's not just with people that are semi-friendly to us. That's with our biggest critics. I think that the metrics, the statistics, the milestones that we've been able to accomplish, really speak for themselves. It's putting it in action and not words. And, one thing I notice is a lot of people talk about the future of blockchain, and the reality is the future is here, right? I think that we demonstrated that in Zurich. And, for people that are interested in, seeing how this blockchain technology, not token technology, but blockchain technology can actually, create these new efficiencies for their enterprise or their small business or their mid-market business or, even their kick-up or startup, right? I think, this is one industry right now that, with a few lines of code, you could create $1 billion business idea, right? And, one thing that really highlights this entire time that we're in is, obviously we've just gone through a lot with COVID and a lot of changes. A lot of people are working remotely. There's been such a transformation in the workplace that's, just highlighted how, we haven't changed that workplace. And, I see a convergence of, this new enterprise efficiencies that are available and through BSV, as well as this old archaic system that's kind of, needs to be retooled and reimagined. And, I really see BSV fitting into facilitating a lot of that digital transformation. So if that's something that you're interested in, an organization or business, definitely hit me up.
Absolutely. So I always wonder, and it's funny because like you and I have this relationship that goes back a number of years and we worked together. And you and I think I started at CoinGeek the same week you started at Bitcoin Association. I remember us both not sure if we should tell each other.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like,
yeah.
So, but I've always meant to I remember being completely outside of all of it and wondering like, well, what would it be like if I had a business idea and I were to get a hold of the Bitcoin Association and say like, hey, I could use help with X, Y, and Z thing. How do I integrate? And like, what ways does Bitcoin Association or you specifically, your role, like, how do you help an entrepreneur or somebody to move from the idea phase to actually implementing their business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do it on a weekly basis. So, a lot of times it'll be a developer from outside the blockchain space that has, interestingly enough, I've come across two of these types of developers where they've been building a platform that is very innovative for the technologies that they're utilizing, that they've had to create new technologies just to make them happen, right? And then they realize through, just either their own research or connecting with me and kind of working through it, that BSV, really aligns to help, facilitate where they wanted to go in the first place, right? And so these are people that I'm exposing to BSV and the capabilities and benefits that the blockchain offers. And then, I look at it as my role to where I have a lot of buttons on my desk, right? We have a lot of resources and tools available, from the Bitcoin SV Academy to, other developers and resources that exist, right? Throughout almost at any topic that you could ask about, there's somebody on my desk that I could press a button if I can't help you, that I can get the resources or get them engaged. But, typically I'll work with them through some ideas, if they're not familiar with blockchain, or just bring them up to speed on what is possible with, some of the innovations that have happened on BSV, and align those. And if there's any way that I can facilitate development, I will align them with specific, vendors within the ecosystem or developers within the ecosystem that I think, would be the perfect synergy for what they're trying to accomplish.
No, absolutely. And I think that stuff is crucial because a lot of people just don't know where to start. I remember coming into this space 8-9 years ago now, and not being sure what the hell could be done with any of it, but like understanding that it was important for some reason, but then not sure what to do next, So it's like, man, it's so fantastic to have people like, I mean, just even you and I, like we have calls regularly, like, hey, what's the right way to solve this problem? And like, you get this brain trust of people that can sort of, peck away at it, start to, work our way toward a solution. We got a question here from George saying, please identify and describe tools like MoneyButton that can be used to get started making simple apps. I think MoneyButton's a pretty good start, but I think the Handcash Connect people, personally, I think Handcash Connect has become an easier SDK to use. And then once you've deployed, it's just quicker in every regard. I think the Handcash Connect system has really set the high bar as far as wallets go. Do you have anything else? Like, where do you tell people to start? Like, what does day one look like when you give advice, Bryan?
Yeah, so day one usually starts with, understanding where they are as far as whether they're a business, where they are in that business cycle of transformation, right? Are they just sort of kicking the tires? Do they already have a project in mind? Do they have a compelling event and a budget, or where are they in that process? And if it's, a simple application, that somebody's looking to develop, I'm all for helping that as well. So a lot of times that starts, with highlighting the idea and highlighting what your strong, what your strong suits are and where you need help, and really just facilitating that help, to guide you there, right? And each time is different. There's no real cookie cutter answer for that, for that question, because, I'm coming across people from all walks of life that have all sorts of ideas, and it really requires a broad understanding of what's available for tools and resources. But I do like to start people with the Bitcoin SV Academy, and I do like to start people with a lot of the educative resources that are out there, because not only will you better understand the white paper or some of the development tools that are available through BSV, but you'll be able to really expound and meet and be able to ask a lot of questions. I also would I'd also encourage people to get involved with the hackathons, right? And because that gives you immediate access to a lot of the biggest brains, technology brains in BSV, to sort of build your application without really having to put up money for that education. So it's really an amazing program.
Sure. There's a question from my good buddy here, dude I know from Twitch and Twitter and everybody else. TOG or TOG, I think CSW better sign some Satoshi proof since BSV is getting absolutely wrecked. Y'all not worried about this? Am I the only one? It's an interesting question. We don't talk about price much, and we've been saying this now for 2.5 years. Like, the utility is going to outstrip all of this stuff anyways. And if you look at it, there actually has been a significant opportunity cost versus just doing nothing but buy Ethereum would have made a lot of people a lot more money in many regards. But I continue to say, like, you want to go where the ball is going, not necessarily where it's been. And, looking at that sort of opportunity cost situation there, like, yes, there was money to be made by doing nothing, but I always wind back and I say, somebody's got to make the value. You can't just sit back and take value out of the economy forever. And I actually think we're starting to get to the point where we're gonna have a cultural problem, because we've got like 14 and 15-year-old kids getting themselves Robinhood accounts, and everybody thinks they're going to be a day trader and create this, Wall Street bets economy. We're just going to pump something. I'm going to pull out 100 grand and this and that. And like, now we got people selling JPEGs that are worth more than their parents' houses and stuff like that in this NFT marketplace too. And like, who's going to create value? And ultimately it's those people. Like in my opinion, when you look at things over time, it's the people that own land, own businesses that produce things, own big chunks of infrastructural stuff that people need, even if it's not making a bunch of money. All the gangster money. It's not the investment of the year, but when you look at it over time, it's like the investment of a generation, for example. Like slowly over time, it's appreciated more than anything else, more consistently. It's kind of how I look at it. But how do you look at things like that? When it comes to like, hey man, what should we be investing our money in? Is there any, maybe you personally, maybe Bitcoin Association, like what do people say internally? Like, what should we be doing? What is the general retail investor? What should we be looking at? And can Craig, can anybody, make Craig do what they want to make them rich? Is that an option for anybody?
It's so funny because, obviously those conversations are brought up often as far as, the focus on the token or the price. I don't really avoid them, but I really don't really foresee, something like that as a productive discussion. For me, I think of this discussion that I had when I was younger, right? With this, it was when I was in 7th grade with my economy teacher, and he was explaining how much money you could make selling pizzas, right? You could basically, sell a pizza for $5 and, make this great return on investment. And so, I kind of look at things always in that nature, and, to get something, to extract value out of something, you should have put value into it, right? You still have to make the pizzas. And I think the greatest opportunity that lies at our feet at this juncture is something that anybody can do. It's almost as if there needs to be a late night infomercial about, become a transaction broker, right? And what is a transaction broker? Well, you can leverage your professional relationships by introducing blockchain technology and capabilities, and, thinking about your entire career. It doesn't matter what you've done in your life, but there's been something that you've encountered in your work life that there's a problem that maybe Bitcoin solves or blockchain solves, and now you're able to kind of take that problem and develop a solution around it. Or, you have these professional relationships that, they trust you. So if you're sharing real factual data with them, and you're, giving them, you're doing outreach, right? Business development outreach correctly, then, you can really facilitate helping them, guide them to somebody that can, build out whatever they need, like a blockchain as an infrastructure provider. And then, and with, the ability of programmable contracts, you could potentially get paid in perpetuity, right? For just, an introduction, right? And that's, a big, I'm a huge proponent on the distributed workforce, right? And that's especially in these times now, to where we have people that either disincentivize the work or just not working in general. This is a real opportunity that exists. And, I think that those that are able to early adopt and understand this, information, then be able to articulate it back to, their network, you could potentially monetize that for yourself.
Right. Well, this is what I say all the time. I've been doing the live stream. This is episode 29. So we've been doing this for more than half a year now. And I've been saying since the beginning, the people that make the most money over time are the people that are willing to do hard work that other people are not allowed to do. And then you take the gains from those things and you put them into assets that are also going to appreciate in value. And people seem to understand the, putting money into assets that will gain value, but nobody wants to do that hard work anymore. And it's such a weird thing. Cause like, for me, like, I love to work a 15-hour day, and like the only thing that stops me is my children, really. Because it's
Yeah.
like, I want to stop and have a nice dinner with my wife, play with the kids, like go for a walk, go to the park and do these kind of things. But it's like, I get I get hungry to get out and help people build things, because if we can build an economy that can't be built anywhere else, and that's what makes BSV so uniquely different from all the other things, is we don't have another blockchain that is a competitor with us on a whole bunch of metrics. And there's going to be a window that we're that player, that we need to be conquering territory, because we're already starting to maybe get a little bit of, we've got the Solana people, or we got some of these other people that are like, hey, we can do 10,000 transactions a second, we can do these other things. And Solana is now claiming like they can do 100,000 transactions a second. I haven't seen it anywhere, but their claims are creeping up on us. And we need to be working as if our lives depend on the business development we're able to do. And I think a lot of people, just even the way that question was asked, like, can Craig sign so we can, it's like, I get that. I understand this desire for us to, like, hey, I'm filthy rich now. I've turned my $5,000 into $100,000, and that's awesome. And that really is awesome. But it's such a weird way to think about it from where I come from, like waiting on Craig, or waiting on Calvin, or waiting on, any other, when is Twitch just going to make it mainstream, and then everybody's there, and then I'm making a ton of money because I was on Twitch early, and things like that are very I don't know, I guess I just kind of can't relate. I want to be the guy that makes things big and incredible.
I would argue take that 5,000 and invest it in developing an application that that you can actually earn something on for the rest of your life, rather than just hoping, hoping on anything.
Right. No, I hear you. And by all means, if Craig's sitting in his desk chair with his katanas behind his head listening, and maybe sitting there, stroking the Satoshi keys and saying, should I? Like, it's one of those things where you have to be like, it really could happen at any moment also, and so I think for people, this has been a really interesting test, watching the way the rest of the blockchain economy has gone compared to BSV, which we have made an incredible amount of infrastructural progress over the last 2 years that really no other ecosystem has. Like, Ethereum hasn't gotten better technologically, and BTC frankly never has and never will. And then all these other blockchains, like, they're not making those long-term, like, and I mean like 100-year, more infrastructural investment the way that BSV is. So it's a slow burn. And I don't want to tell people to be patient, because it's really not what I want. I really want people to be aggressively hungry. I like to think of all of us as those people who were, maybe born in New York, or when it was a colony, and saying like, what? I'm going to move to Ohio and see what's out there and start a farm, and do these things, because that's the opportunity. I like to think of us as these pioneers, truly. Like, we're the people that they're going to write legendary stories about someday. And that's really, that's the mindset of a winner right there. So, yeah, all that to say, you're doing a kick-ass job, Bryan. So, I love it. But let's segue a little bit to this question. Now, I'm going to try to not butcher this name. Shanawaz, I would guess is the right way to say that. Shanawaz Gilani, how would you mint an NFT on BSV? And then he's at Vamos Raf, who is my buddy Rafael Laverde from the Crypto Vigilante, a good buddy of mine. Actually, I'll let you answer. What would your go-to be if you wanted to mint an NFT on BSV, Bryan?
It's an interesting answer I would probably provide you. I mean, there's a lot of different platforms available. I think RelayX offers a lot of different minting capabilities. I'm currently working with a team of people called Smart Ledger, and we're creating a lot of different NFT-based platforms. But these are not your average NFTs. So these are more utility-based type NFT development platforms. But yeah, I mean, I think I would start with RelayX. I think that they, have a great minting, easy, simple, minting process that you could use. And if that's your first one, then, start there and then kind of grow from there. I mean, there's a lot of other platforms, Bitcoin Computer, and, Yeah, I mean, I think that they're popping up every day now. So I think
Yeah.
I'm not sure. There's a couple other ones as well, depending on that are more niche specific. So really, kind of
Yeah.
depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, that's interesting too. Like, I think the thing that has minted probably more NFTs maybe than anywhere else in the entire blockchain economy is probably crypto fights, because as I understand it, every character, every weapon, every item is an NFT.
Again, let's see.
So the easiest way to mint an NFT is to go play crypto fights.
There you
but
go.
but if you want to like make a digital piece of art, you're trying to make like a digital playing card like you see on OpenSea, Rarible, and some of these other places. I think first of all, whoever focuses on the artwork first, like if you're coming to this like an artist, and we have a handful of people, there's like 3 or 4 people in the BSV economy that make some really nice art. I would love to see them upload their art, mint them as NFTs that are art focused, beautiful pieces of something that people actually want because they like the aesthetic value of the thing. Like this is the big differentiator on places like Ethereum. Some of this stuff is actually legitimately cool, rare art. And so if you were to do that, you could, output a file, high resolution, basically JPEG or whatever, and then you can put that on the blockchain. You can mint that on Run or using Run protocol, but on relayx.com, I think is probably the easiest way to do it. And then you can sell it on RelayX if that's what you want to do. But I want to remind people that one of the episodes that of the show that we did a few weeks ago that I couldn't do, Patrick interviewed the people from TokenPow, and TokenPow is a really cool platform too, because they allow you to trade between run-based tokens and the simple fabric tokens, which is very cool. So check out TokenPow, mint your stuff on RelayX, use the Run protocol. It's all very, very easy actually. But focus on the art, focus on the thing that people actually want. It's not the tech. The tech undergirds the artwork, the thing that you want to use in the economy, which maybe is just for aesthetic purposes, but
that's the big difference, though, right? Like, it's not just minting or it's not just minting an NFT. Because if you're minting an NFT on, say, Ethereum, there's no guarantee that that's sitting on the blockchain, right? To where that's what differentiates, BSV, to where that artwork actually exists there. And like I said, I'd like to see quality over quantity, high grade SVG and other media formats. And, beyond just artwork, I think that there needs to be utility involved, right? I think, that it should do something, it should have a purpose. I mean, I'm all for the wonderful artwork, and I love the concept of digital twins and provenance and ticketing and all sorts of ideas, right? I think that there's a lot of utility out there that you could just work with a purse manufacturer just to help them specifically authenticate their bags from having fraudulent bags, right? So I mean, there's all sorts of real utility that people can draw value from that ultimately would probably pay you a pretty penny or two.
Yep. No, it's funny. I buy. I'm a little bit of an amateur gunsmith myself, so I make some firearms from some parts. And one of the suppliers that I use, I'm not going to dox the whole situation, but one of the suppliers I use actually sends a QR code with an NFT with every one of their parts too. So it verifies who was the person that made the part, and which factory, what date, whatever. Just the relevant information there. But that's a very simple like workflow application for, hey, this is your receipt, this is your proof of purchase, this is proof of all the relevant data there forever. You can verify it, and then it's part of your AR-15 or your Glock or whatever it is that you're putting together. So these are the kind of things that really require biz dev. Like, this is just a guy that went out, made a sales pitch to a gun parts company, and they said, yeah, that's cool, that adds a little extra value, we'll do that. That's simple. And so really anybody can be doing that kind of stuff. I really, really wish people would do more of that, frankly. So here's a good question from the Fast Company. How many signed up for the BitPost challenge in here? Wish there was a referral program for either MoneyButton or BitPost, like Twetch et al. BitPost, is doing a simple writing competition, which is easy way to just create a little bit of action in the economy. I've retweeted this a couple of times. I don't know if people are doing it because I haven't double checked myself, but I think the meat of this question that really stands out to me is, why doesn't everything in the BSV economy have a referral program? Like, that is such a simple way to like create a very simple incentive with micropayments. So
Yeah, I would
yeah,
use Tonic Powell almost on, I mean, you can use Tonic Powell on a lot of that stuff as well for, to use influencers to, advertise your product, service, or what you're trying to solve. So, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of Tonic Powell. I think the value that they offer and the change in advertising model, and the protection of your data and the availability of being able to get out a message is growing. I know you're a huge fan of Tonic Powell yourself.
I am.
I think that, when I look at, my money button and I'm sharing a few Tonic Powell links, I'm definitely always surprised to see the pennies that kind of come in from that. And, it really shows that it's reaching somebody intrinsically that is interested in your product or service that you're offering, right? Because,
For sure.
no, they're not getting paid to actually click on that rather than, somebody is to share it.
For sure. And then that brings up Alex, who put the ticker up. But Tonic Powell right now, if you sign up for Tonic Powell and you send the link around for the CoinGeek New York conference, you get 10% of every ticket sale. So if there's a $125 ticket sale, you get $12.50 for that. If somebody buys a VIP ticket, which is $1,000 if I recall, you get $100 commission on that. And all you got to do is be the person that sent the Tonic Powell link to that campaign. So this is, I mean, if we're talking people, I mean, in the US, yeah, I mean, $12 will buy me a fast food lunch. But if this is Philippines or Vietnam or some of these other places, and you can be making a killing just pushing Tonic Powell links across social media. So it's a pretty impressive little piece. Alex just let me know that on September 6th, so we're 6 days away, the price increases to $250. So if somebody wants to buy early, you can buy that $125. But tell your friends, get them to sign up, and if they delay, then you get a $25 commission when they pay $250 for the ticket. So this is a good situation for everyone, I think. Bryan, you mentioned Smart Ledger. Can you fill us in a little bit about Smart Ledger? Who's involved? What's the situation? I've been saying since the beginning of the show, business development, and it looks like you and a few good people are looking to do a little business development. So what's let us know what's the business look like? What do you guys do?
Sure. So Smart Ledger actually was kind of a brainchild, prior, back early in 2019, 2020. And, as with a business partner I've been working with for, a year or so. At that point, I introduced him to blockchain and BSV and the capabilities. He's been selling enterprise hardware and software his entire career. He understood it understood it very quickly, and started seeing the same implications that I was seeing, as I'm sitting across C-level execs explaining what technology they should integrate next, and really seeing the potential of what blockchain could provide in the enterprise world. So we kicked along the idea for, I don't know, probably 7-8 months, and really, looked at the ecosystem and what it was missing. And, 97% of all technology is sold through a channel, right? So any of the technology that exists in any business anywhere in the world is typically purchased through a distribution model, right? Or a distributor. Like in the United States, there's, two huge distributors, Synix and Ingram Micro, and they basically provide, pre and post sales support, pre and post technical support, post technical support. They'll provide, obviously, access to certified technologies that have a service level agreement attached to them. They don't just they don't just create the solutions. They actually represent the ecosystem. So they'll represent, say, an Omniscape or an Enchain or a Tau and their services, and do a lot of the sales development for them. And as those opportunities come in, they're able to kind of facilitate, a qualified lead to those, vendors, and, for a referral. And, where we are today, we haven't really officially launched. We've been working in the background for months now. And the team consists of Sean Ryan, who's the CEO, Ava Porras, who many people probably remember from CoinGeek Zurich and CoinGeek London. She did a panel on AI. And then we also work with Micah Crouchfeld, who also is a heck of a business development person that's based in Germany. So, we've got people globally. We also work with Greg Ward, who you recently had on the show. He does a lot. He manages a lot of the development for the opportunities that come in. And, we've been spending a lot of time doing presentations for some fairly large enterprises and, putting together some scope of works and, really focused on telecommunication industry, airline industry, and obviously NFTs. We've created a few MVPs in that regard. And potentially over the next few months, a lot more information will probably roll out. But we do have a LinkedIn page, or I think there's a Facebook page. We have a website, smartledger.solutions, so you can go on there and kind of see some of the things that we're looking to do. I think one of the most innovative ideas is really improving upon two aspects that we need in this society, which is creating a distributed workforce through transaction brokers, which I've described earlier, of just leveraging your relationships and owning that relationship in perpetuity, and using somebody like Smart Ledger as a blockchain as a service provider for an a la carte services that you need to run your business. Or if it's a blockchain service provider who maybe it's a group of people and they don't have access to developers, or they need, technical support, or they need somebody like, like myself to come on and provide some technical guidance. You can come on as that blockchain service provider and support them in that way. So, I think that's one of the biggest missing pieces in all of the infrastructure that's been built is, as I said, there's very few technologies that are sold directly. And a lot of times because technology integration and digital transformation in the enterprise world relies so much on trusted relationships that it's very difficult for any one company to just recreate that trusted relationship. So in many ways, you're better educating the educators and integrating this technology through them, right? And to do that, obviously you have to create partnerships and collaborations, and that's what Smart Ledger's been doing in the background for well over a year now.
Sure. I think that's crucial, especially we got this comment here from Luke saying, did you know that the Medici land governance is putting New York's land records on the Flow blockchain? And this is an example of places where we have competitors. Like there are 10,000 blockchains out there that people could use for various things. And we're trying to build the singular blockchain. But in order to do that, it can't just be like, let's rewind a little bit. Who sold that deal? Like who made that deal happen between Medici and the Flow blockchain? Is this the lead developer? Is there a company behind them, or is it somebody just from the Flow community? It's somebody that bought a lot of Flow and is trying to make Flow a big deal. Like, this kind of comes back to what we were saying about Craig earlier. Like, can Craig sign? Like, is he just waiting? Is it, what is it? The court case? Is it, what is it? Why won't Craig make us rich? And I understand that sentiment, but it doesn't change the fact that, somebody involved with the Flow blockchain had to approach Medici and maybe talk to the front desk secretary, or maybe they knew of somebody, or maybe, maybe it was a 2-year-long sales process that started before the Flow blockchain even existed. And then when they actually nailed the deal down, it went on Flow because, whatever, Flow reached out to the right person at that point. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to be doing the sales cycle, which includes sometimes cold calling and sometimes bringing, bagels and donuts, or sometimes might even mean like, hey man, I'm going to fly out to this luxury resort and take care of you for the weekend. And we're going to talk business for 2 hours over the course of a 3-day weekend where, you know, I'm going to spend 10 grand on you because I'm buying you drinks and steaks and whatever, just to be able to tug on your ear and say, look, we have the best blockchain in the universe, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
but somebody's got to do that work, you know? So I guess, again, I'm really glad that, you know, you're one of the people doing it. Sorry if I just like broke your ear by yelling at the microphone.
But you're exactly right. I mean, somebody has to do the work, right? And I think that there's a lot of people out there, you know, especially where we're growing. We see the need. I mean, our bandwidth shrinks on a daily, hourly basis as far as opportunities to have these type of conversations, to build those type of relationships. Because, you know, you and I both have been in the technology world long enough. They don't just buy from you because you have the best technology, right? It just doesn't happen. Otherwise, obviously, I would have been the best salesman ever, right? No. But they a lot of times, you know, it really just does take building those relationships. But the key is this: the key is understanding and prioritizing those opportunities as far as understanding. Okay, this is a real qualified opportunity versus this is somebody just trying to either get some information or just, you know, wasting your time. And, you know, not that they're wasting your time, but you want to provide results. And you know, if somebody has a compelling event, they've got a budget, they've got a project manager, they've got a timeline to accomplish something. Well, I want to talk with you, right? Like, then I can probably help you a lot faster than somebody who doesn't know how much, if they have any money to spend on what they would spend on a developer or what their idea is. You know, that's something, again, that you really kind of have to touch base on and understand on an individual basis, and understanding where, like you said, where are they on this digital transformation or digital integration life cycle.
Well, and the funny thing is, we have the best blockchain. You know, I said it into the microphone like that to be funny, but like if you look at something like Flow, or you look at, you know, even Solana, which has a lot of juicy numbers, like they've got like, you know, all their marketing is very slick. Like they see themselves as a competitor to us, but truly Bitcoin never hits a scale ceiling. Like this is one of the earliest Satoshi Nakamoto quotes, but we're proving it with BSV. And truly, we have the most flexible script stack. We have a proof of work network using SHA-256, which is the most secure hashing algorithm in the universe. We can add as much data to the blockchain per transaction, per hour, per whatever. And the data type is the most flexible. And, you know, something like Flow, you know, I have a very limited understanding about Flow, but like they don't even have mobile wallets. They don't have all these different things. It's not even a blockchain that's built out to be used by regular people or enterprises very well. So it's like, how is that data getting onto the Flow blockchain? Is any data going onto there at all? Or is this just hey, we penned a deal and, you know, there's a sheet of paper on somebody's desk somewhere that says, hey, we're going to do business together someday when you're capable. And, you know, on the flip side, we have, you know, simple things like hand cash that, you know, simple on the front end, but I'm sure, you know, a lot of hard work, years of work on the back end, but then all kinds of enterprise level stuff. We got the new N-Chain Kensai platform and all these different things that like you can be going to like, you know, Fortune 500 companies and doing like major data integrations, or you can have a company like Haste. Like we had Joe on last week. It was like, yeah, we use hand cash. And some people are like, hey, why don't you go to some other blockchain? It's like, they don't have any tooling that works for us, you know, and we could go to Ethereum, who has good tooling, but their blockchain doesn't do what we need it to do. And so like, we're sitting here, like, I feel like perpetually we're like a Lamborghini or a you know, F1 style Ferrari sitting on the road, and we're surrounded by all these Toyota Corollas, and they're all looking at us like, psh, that thing doesn't do anything, because we've never had the opportunity to put the damn hammer down. So like, man, how do we bridge that gap? First of all, like,
I look a little bit different. I think most of the cars around us are looking like Ferraris, right? But in the reality, there's nothing there. You know, they have their Fred Flintstone seat at the bottom. Yeah, and you know, we've got a Ferrari, you know, with like kind of the beat up Yugo bodies, because, you know, publicly, you know, it does get bashed around, and people focus on, you know, Craig Wright, or, you know, is Elon Musk is attending the Coin Geek, you know, like, you know, and those are great, you know, but honestly, like, those are not questions that come up, in a meeting that I'm having, about the most, likely question you will get is, is say Craig Wright in charge of the network, which, he's not, right? I mean, that's the whole key, is that it is decentralized in that respect. So, that's it. And then once you kind of answer that question, and that's maybe 1 out of every 10 conversations, and the majority of people that I speak with, they're not talking about that at all, and they just really want to know what are the benefits and capabilities, and why would I want to use it, and really trying to understand the different concepts of what they've been taught is and isn't a blockchain, right? So, is permissioned or permissionless a blockchain? Well, you can explore that. Well, why would I want to stick public data on or data on a public blockchain? Or can I hide this data? Or how can I make sure that my identity is, secure? But ultimately, I think, the key concepts are talking about the actual benefits, such as cybersecurity and information security that you can't replicate with today's legacy technology, or, otherwise they wouldn't be selling all the cybersecurity stuff that they've sold for the 20 years and still having more and more problems, right? Or, and then when you do have this discussion about energy consumption and ESG, and the way I feel about it, and I feel very strongly about this topic, I think BSV is the most energy efficient technology available, right? That it only potentially becomes more and more technologically important for us to utilize this to protect the planet and be energy conscious, right? As when you look at the throughput and the scaling that's been able to happen, and the reduction of the carbon footprint of each transaction, and as you imagine, as we transition from big data to extreme data era, where you have machine to machine and more IoT and more smart devices, and as if they're running over a public blockchain that offers microtransactions and information security, and also displaces this cost of some of the other legacy in technology environments, from utilizing SPV to scale an application or offering, or to reduce your cybersecurity attack vector. I mean, there's a lot there that displaces other costs that people don't even consider. But even at that, general concept, if it takes the same amount of electricity to mine one BTC block and one BSV block, and that's 1 meg, and this is 2 gig, and it has 3 million transactions, that carbon footprint of each one of those transactions is smaller. But when you start adding in the utility, it just explodes.
Absolutely. I gotta ask, so it's funny, we only got like 6.5 minutes left. I'm shocked, because I felt like all these shows, is always like the first half an hour, I'm like, man, how are we gonna get to the end? And then the last half, I'm always like, damn it, I could go another 20 minutes. But here's a good question. Does anyone pay attention to the BSV carbon cap, which you just touched on? But I imagine that's got to be something that big businesses care about, because it's being talked about like, hey, we can't use some blockchain that's going to, bring up our carbon footprint for, PR reasons, or they actually care, or they've got some, if they're a green energy company, for example, they have to be conscious about the way that they're utilizing power. What, is this something that, do we even actually have competitors? Like, I look at Coin Carbon Cap and I'm just like, we're exponentially better than basically anybody else. But is that coming up consistently in some of these bigger conversations, or what else are people talking about at that level?
No, that's like one of their first questions, right? Like it's, along the lines of their first questions. It's always brought up, because we live in a time to where we have company cultures, we have company movements that are, very global and humanity based and energy conservative, and I think for the most part, some of these programs, are just feel good stuff, right? And some of the problems when they look at Bitcoin or blockchain in general or proof of work, they're basing it off of technical papers and technical research that was done on BTC, where you don't have this type of throughput. Where recently M&P just released their their protocol comparison report, where it really reverted back to what is this vision, the original intention of the Bitcoin network and of Satoshi, and they really highlighted where things went awry and why BSV is poised to kind of become this global data management network. And to get back to your question, yeah, I mean it is a hot topic. It is a lot of the information now doesn't exist. We did a panel. I mean, it does exist, but it's not really publicly available or accessible. At this point, we are working internally to try to make that more accessible to people, as far as some of the data. And we're working with independent auditors and groups to work on technical papers that understand these new understanding of throughput, and to create a new proof of work modeling that technical researchers can base their new papers and understanding off of. Because again, I've probably read 20 to 30 papers on ESG and energy consumption in the Bitcoin world, and most of them will say proof of work's great because it provides all these benefits, but it's so energy consuming that it doesn't scale, so it's not worth it, right? So they just ignore it for the next 45 pages. Well, that's ultimately not true, right? I mean, we're showing that on a daily basis. So I think that that's something. It's a topic that's heavily talked about in mine, and it's a topic that I talk with. I plan to talk about it for the foreseeable future.
Awesome. There's a good question here from Stella Winston. Please speak on the courses offered. I completed the theory course. Are there more courses even coming, as I understand it?
Yeah, so Raylene, who heads up the Bitcoin Academy, she's doing an amazing job. Her and her team putting more and more content on there. I know that they have the developer course on there, and I believe they have a shorter course that's also available. I've been so busy over the last month, I haven't been able to get back over there to see some of the things that they're adding. But I know from, her and I's last discussion that they're regularly adding more and more courses. And what's nice about it is, ultimately these courses provide you these certifications that, if you're interested in this, industry, those will go a long way to help you, to enter it, right? And as I mentioned from the start of this show, we're very interested in meeting with people that want to become, consultants and reach out and do business dev. So, and that's from, the BA standpoint. And I think that, speaking with a lot of the vendors in the space, a lot of those guys are also looking for a workforce, but the biggest and most challenging aspect for them is not finding people that are interested. It's finding people that have, this conceptually understanding of what BSV is and what it provides.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's super important here. Education is key. And once people get past that education, I think the next thing that is key, crucial, absolute, is people need to get out there and do the business dev. Like, there's just not really a way around it. We have developers that are available that need you to sell something for them to build, and bam, you can bang it out. Bryan, where's the best place to find you if somebody wanted to reach out? I know you're on Twitter and stuff, but is that a good place for people to ping you about business opportunities?
I mean, the best way is always through my email. So it's Bryan@bitcoinassociation.net. Definitely hit me up via email. That's usually the best way. Or LinkedIn. I'm more active on LinkedIn than I am on Twitter, just as far as messaging. So if you send me a message, I will respond to you. But you probably have a better chance of hitting me there or, in my inbox.
Cool.
Or come to these events.
Yes, come to the BA and CoinGeek events and all of these. There's going to be another one in New York in about a week. Or if you're around Miami, you can probably edge your way in. I expect to see all kinds of people just scrambling to get through the door. It's going to be like The Walking Dead. They're trying to break the doors down and make their way in. Bryan, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure. I think the audience has learned a lot. It's good for people to see that there are multiple great faces, competent people doing big things at Bitcoin Association and out there in the BSV economy. And I think you and I should probably go meet for a drink as soon as we get off the air. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely. Let's make that happen.
Absolutely. So that sounds great. Bryan, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to do a sign off. I'll see you in, let's say 10 or 15 minutes. How's that sound?
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Cool,
Thanks,
man.
Kurt. Thanks,
right.
Alex. Bye, guys.
Take care. All right, everybody. So I'm going to check my private messages from Alex. There's a private message from Alex. I will keep that private. Thank you, Mr. Moon. I'm going to answer this one real quick here. Marsha Babel, can we have a personal NFT that is our identity and let it grow as we age to represent like when we got married, had kids, etc.? Yes, you can. Your NFT can be an object that can be modified any way you see fit because, hey, it's flexible. It's the Bitcoin protocol. In fact, this is something that I think there's a lot of actual value to it in a number of different ways. Like imagine if you could have a flexible, changeable NFT that allowed for a digital twin to be updated with all kinds of metrics. I think that's a really, really good one, frankly. So everybody, that was Bryan Daugherty. Bryan is a really good dude. And if you have questions about how do I use my developer skills and get into Bitcoin, or how do I get my business idea and find a developer, or how do I find, how do I connect any pieces in the ecosystem out here and build something on the blockchain? I think the first question you need to ask yourself is, why do you need a blockchain? Well, if you need low friction payments, or you need immense data integrity and persistence across a bulletproof network, then you need a blockchain. That's when you should start. If one of those two things will create a bunch of extra value in your real business, if it will make you more profitable or more anything wonderful, you need a blockchain. Please reach out to someone like Bryan. You can even send me a DM. I'm very happy to connect you to the right people. Bryan is often the right guy. I do send people his way, but sometimes maybe I know a developer that's been working on some little thing that's exactly what you need. So feel free to DM me, DM Bryan. Like you said, LinkedIn or Twitter is great. But ultimately, Bitcoin is an opportunity for all of us to become powerful. It is an opportunity for all of us to really take our skills and conquer territory that cannot be conquered in any other way. And I see some of the people in the comments here that are upset that, hey, everybody else is taking off and doing all these things better. But even in like the Ethereum ecosystem or in the BTC, let's just say the BTC, the most toxic small blockers, what they're doing is they're doing business development too. It's just that the only thing that they can sell is the token itself. The thing that you can sell on BTC is BTC. So that's all they do all day. They create this giant shill army. They censor out everybody else. They make sure that information always funnels liquidity toward their bags. And that's their business model. Now, in Ethereum, there are actual business dev people building real things. The problem is that they just don't scale. So they're easy to develop, they're easy to deploy, it's easy to raise capital because there's a lot of people that are freshly wealthy off of their Ethereum investments, but ultimately, that's not going anywhere either. I think Josh Hensley said it best and said on Ethereum that the more you win, the more you fail because they ultimately cannot scale. And it's the same basically everywhere else. Everybody else has a giant hole somewhere in their technical situation that doesn't let them really conquer the earth the way that it can here on BSV. Here I see Tog here. Like, I love you, man. I really do. He's saying I just tuned in again. I never implied BSV's price is wrecked. I'm saying BSV reputation makes it very hard to build on. I understand that. I really do. I understand that we're fighting through this information war. This is literally why I'm here. I'm trying to let people know that, hey, maybe it doesn't matter if there's some Australian boomer that everybody hates. It's a technical tool that works better than any other technical tool. And I realize I work for CoinGeek, and that puts me in this very weird situation in a lot of people's minds. But ultimately, what can we do to change it? How do we get from where we are to where we're going? Because let's just assume right now that we have the best tool in the universe, but that maybe that thing that makes it super easy for us to all succeed never happens. Maybe Craig gets hit by a bus next week, or maybe, maybe some other awful thing just that happens that makes all of this other stuff that much more complicated. At the end of the day, we still have the most powerful tool in the entire blockchain economy. This is why I say we've already won. This is what I mean when I say we've already won. We haven't won the whole war, but we have all of the right tools to win the war. We do have challenges. We really, really do. We genuinely have stuff that we need to work on. But with the tools we have, we can surmount any challenge that comes our way. And whoever does it best, that's the opportunity. You get to be that person that gets to be a billionaire because you solved a problem that nobody else was willing to solve. And I promise you, I would not be here if this was not the case. I have all kinds of great things to do with my time. I could be spending more time with my kids. I've been a Bitcoin guy for a long time. I don't need the drama, but I love this. And I'm very, very excited about what is possible here. I want my reputation to have been, you know what? Kurt jumped into the least popular blockchain economy. He put his reputation on the line and he worked his ass off. Toy soldier, yes, I work. Thank you for putting the question up, Mr. Moon. It's true though, man. This is an opportunity. It's an opportunity that we should not miss just because of some drama. The drama is the opportunity. People aren't paying attention. And when people aren't paying attention, that's when you get to front run people. Josh, do you think Craig will win in November or will it get pushed back again? I'm actually not sure. I listened to the call. It was 2 or 3 days. I think it was maybe Friday. And it sounded a little bit like maybe it's not going to be able. It's this damn pandemic. This pandemic has already pushed the case back multiple times, and it's totally possible that it does it again. So, be prepared for anything, people, because life sometimes is like that. However, like I was saying, challenges are opportunities. You really got to look at these things and say, hey, you know what? I can solve this problem. This problem creates an opportunity for me to get ahead of other people. So before I rant forever, Alex looks like he's got to go have some dinner because he's not hanging out in Miami. I love you, man. There's the middle finger from my delightful and lovely executive producer, Mr. Moon. I just want to say thank you to Alex. Thank you to my wife, Natalie, for taking care of my dear children and allowing me to do all the things that I do here in lovely Miami. And please follow all the CoinGeek stuff. Follow me. I'm at Kurt Wooker Jr. everywhere. But please like, subscribe, share these videos. Let people know that the CoinGeek Weekly live stream happens every single Tuesday now at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is the exact same time for you, but it's a different time for me because I have changed time zones. And I'm excited to keep doing these forever until Bitcoin SV replaces not only the entire blockchain economy, but also the entire internet and everything else. All communications will be privy to proof of work someday. Love you, everybody. I'm Kurt Wooker Jr. signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.